respective agenda items will be read out if we receive any. All right, following the agenda at this time, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. So everyone please stand, join me in the pledge.
John, can I request that we have a moment of silence for memory of Pearl Harbor?
Yeah, absolutely. We will have a moment of silence, and then we'll do the pledge. A moment of silence for a few seconds, please. Now join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the States of America, of the United States of America,
Republic, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Can we have a roll call for the Camarillo Airport Authority, please?
Absolutely. For Camarillo Airport Authority, Supervisor Long.
Yes.
Supervisor Zaragoza has been excused. Mayor Craven.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Molshe.
Present.
Bill Thomas.
Present.
Michael Hodson.
Yes. Present.
Thank you. Camarillo Airport Authority has a quorum.
I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Oxnard Airport Authority. A roll call, please. Madam Clerk.
Yes. Supervisor Long.
Yes.
Supervisor Zaragoza has been excused. Mayor Flynn.
Present.
Councilmember Perallo.
Here.
Walter Calhoun.
Yes.
Eugene Fussell. Oxnard Airport Authority has a quorum.
All right, moving down to the minutes. Is my understanding there's an edit to the minutes?
Yes. On page 3A5, under 8, under item number 11, under board member comments, Member Perallo and myself made a comment, and it needs to be corrected. It was an error. I made a mistake. The very last line, it says Perallo closed by thanking the airport authority and the airport staff, and it had to do with the advertising in the newspaper for the parallel for the construction. And I want to thank the Department of Airports because it's believed that the Department of Airports and all parties involved paid for those ads. And I want to point out, Mr. Thomas, thank you very much for pointing that out.
All right, and is staff clear on those amendments?
Yes, I'm clear.
And do I have a motion and a second with that, with the amendment?
I second approval.
Okay, I got Mr. Thomas.
Move to approve.
Okay, I got a first and a second. Camarillo Airport Authority?
Supervisor Long.
Yes.
Mayor Craven.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Molshe.
Yes.
Bill Thomas.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
We need a motion from the Oxnard Airport Authority to approve the minutes also.
A motion to approve. Long.
Second for all with the amendments. Thank you. Thank you again, Mr. Thomas. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Long.
Yes.
Mayor Flynn.
Aye.
Councilmember Perallo.
Yes.
Walter Calhoun.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
All right, that'll get us down to item number 4, public comment period. And it's my understanding we do have one or more public comments.
Yes, we've received one public comment at this time. This public comment is from Mark Sullivan. Rumors are circulating that the block of county-owned T hangars at the Camarillo Airport between Air 7 and the Commemorative Air Force are going to be eliminated to create an expanded ramp for large aircraft, possibly cargo aircraft serving the Amazon Fulfillment Center that is being built on the vacant land at Del Norte Boulevard and the US 101. Are there plans of this nature involving these hangars? I am a long-term renter of 2 of these hangars, one since they were first built in 1987. If there is truth to this rumor, when will we be notified and will we be given a priority for a hangar in the Northeast Hangar Project? Mark Sullivan.
All right. Thank you very much. Seeing that there are no other public comments, we'll close that. There is no unfinished business. All we have is new business, and that all pertains to the Oxnard Airport Authority. So, Mr. Borrello, I will let you take it away.
Thank you very much, Sean. Item number 6, new business, Oxnard Airport Authority. A, the subject, receive and file an update on the follow-up requested by the Oxnard Airport Authority during a September meeting regarding FAA consultation of Alternative 4 for the Oxnard Airport Runway 7-25, taxiway connectors, parallel taxiway pavement reconstruction project. The recommendation, staff requests that your commission authority receive and file an update on the follow-up requested by the Oxnard Airport Authority during a September meeting regarding Federal Aviation Administration consultation of Alternative 4 for the Oxnard Airport Runway 7-25, taxiway connectors, parallel taxiway pavement reconstruction project. And I'm not certain who's going to make a presentation if there is one to be made.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kip Turner, Director of Airports. I'll lead us off and then hand it over to Aaron Powers, our project administrator, who will follow up from there. But as you just mentioned in the last meeting, your board asked us to look further into the question with FAA about alternate 4, which we have done. So I would just go ahead and hand it off to Aaron now, and she'll introduce Mead and Hunt, who's ready to present on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
Chair, authority members. As Kip mentioned, your authority had asked for the airport to go ahead and consult with the FAA on Alternative 4. Immediately following that meeting, Mead and Hunt did reach out to the FAA, provided the information, and I'm going to turn that over to Chuck McCormick from Mead and Hunt, who will walk us through their actions and the response back that we received from the FAA. Thank you, Chuck.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Kip. Can we go next slide? And this is just the title slide of this FAA response. So let's go next slide. So just to remind you, it is part of the first tenant workshop and then the last airport authority meeting, we provided 5 different alternatives that were considered during the design for the runway 725, the connector taxiway and taxiway Foxtrot project. One of the alternatives was Alternative 4, where consideration was given to using taxiway Foxtrot, turning that into an interim or temporary runway while runway 725 was closed for construction. So with this, you can see a layout of this. We presented this at the last Airport Authority meeting back in September.
I beg your pardon. By chance, do you have a pointer that you could help if any members of the public are watching this?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
If you can see my mouse moving. So runway 725 is the area that would be impacted by construction. And then the area down here where you can see the markings of a temporary runway, which is now taxiway Foxtrot, that would have been changed over to a temporary runway. As part of that, there was, you can see here, it was issues with, it was too close to the adjacent hangars and landside features, and there was safety zone compliance issues, and the safety zone mostly being the runway object-free area, and you can see that down there where it says ROFA. And then also off the east end of the airfield and west end, both ends, the runway protection zone had buildings and objects located in there. However, based on the direction from the Airport Authority from the September meeting, we provided this exhibit along with language describing it to the FAA, and that's the FAA Los Angeles Airport's district office down in Hawthorne, California. That was provided that following week, and by the end of that first week, we did receive a response back from the FAA Los Angeles ADO from the Assistant District Manager. And basically, I'll summarize that response was, as a result, utilizing the parallel taxiway Foxtrot as a temporary runway alternative would significantly increase the likelihood of runway incursions and decrease safety. Therefore, the alternative as proposed is unacceptable to the FAA. So just as to report back, so we did receive a response back from the FAA, and again, that was their response back. The next slide, I think. If we have any questions, I'll be able to address those, or we can just stay on that slide if you'd like.
Are there any questions from the board? And do we have any public comments on this?
There are no public comments on this item.
Thank you, madam. Any questions from the board members?
No questions for me, but I'll motion to receive and file.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Supervisor Long,
Yes.
Supervisor Zaragoza, Mayor Flynn,
Aye.
Yes,
Councilmember Perrello.
and I would like to make a comment. I want to thank the Oxnard Airport Authority for requesting this. I want to thank the Airport Authority management for carrying it forward. Purpose is information and cover everybody's back. Any questions come up, we let the highest authority give us an answer. And I'm voting yes.
Thank you. Walter Calhoun.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to 6B. The subject, receive and file summary of the second tenant workshop held on November 17th, 2020 for the Oxnard Airport Runway 7-25 Taxiway Connectors and Parallel Taxiway Pavement Reconstruction Project. The recommendation, staff requests that your commission/authority receive and file a summary of the second tenant workshop held on November 17, 2020 for the Oxnard Airport Runway 7-25 Taxiway Connectors and Parallel Taxiway Pavement Reconstruction Project. And who's ever going to carry this, please do. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kip Turner, Director of Airports again. Just to introduce this item, this was our second workshop of 3. We will be having another workshop, third and final workshop for this effort in sometime late January, early February to wrap up public workshop participation on this. In addition to the workshops, we've hosted, we continue to update the website on this project. We continue to send out mass communication to our tenants and put in ads and so forth, advertising what we're doing and soliciting feedback. This workshop was productive for us as well and talked about the alternatives a little further, allowing us to get closer to where we needed to be for making decisions and moving forward. So with that, I'll turn it over to Aaron Powers, our project administrator, who pick it up.
Thank you, Kip. Kip did a really good job summarizing an introduction here. Mead and Hunt, in collaboration with the airport, did conduct a second workshop on November 17th. We had a good turnout, and we also included as part of that workshop several more survey questions that were helpful in moving the project forward. And tonight, Mead and Hunt will be, I'll be turning this over to Mead and Hunt, to Chuck McCormick and Jeanette Loera, who will be walking through the workshop materials with you, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron and Kip. Can we go next slide, please? So just as part of an introduction, working with the Department of Airports, both Kip and Aaron, the Mead and Hunt is on the team to provide the design of this project, and also so we're moving through the 60% design stage right now, and as both Aaron and Kip mentioned, we've conducted 2 tenant workshops. So we can go next slide. And again, I'll first introduce myself again, Chuck McCormick with Mead & Hunt. I'm the project manager, and then a little bit later, Jeanette Laurer will present as well, and she's our civil design lead on this project. So the purpose of this project, or of this meeting, really is to provide you information and seek the authority's input on the upcoming project at Oxnard Airport. The project is going to provide the airport a long-lasting improvement to the runway and the taxiway pavements at the airport. So kind of what we're going to show you today is, again, the purpose. We'll go over the project and overview and the description of the project, the proposed airfield changes, and then from this first tenant workshop, we'll go over the survey results with you, and then the phasing alternatives as they've been narrowed down now. We'll show you the workshop number 2, the survey results that we've received from that. And we had approximately a little bit over 40 people attend that tenant workshop. And then we'll show you the questions and comments received during that workshop. And then we'll provide you future meetings and contact information, and then take any questions from you tonight. So next slide, please.
I can't make this thing sign in. This just doesn't work.
Eugene, we can hear you. Just to let you know.
Okay, so for the project overview, Oxnard Airport, as we know, it's a public use airport that's owned and operated by the Ventura County. It's located in the county of Ventura, west of Oxnard, California. The airport, just as a reminder, has the single runway, designated runway 725, which you can see in the exhibit here. And it has 5 connector taxiways and 1 full-length parallel taxiway. So the project, as far as the overview, will be the removal of the existing pavement surface on the runways and the connector taxiways and the parallel taxiways. It'll remove that pavement surface and excavation down to the subgrade. The construction will be a new pavement section and crush aggregate base course shoulder. It'll include the application of pavement markings, as well as the installation of an underdrain system and adjustments to the storm drain. So that'll allow for improvements to the drainage system on the airport. It'll also have installation of new runway edge lights and MALSAF lights. The MALSAF that's M-A-L-S-F. That's a medium intensity approach lighting system with sequence flashers. That's a system actually owned by the FAA and guides the aircraft into the landing zone. And then it'll also have installation of new signs, so both airfield guidance and mandatory hold signs. The next slide, please. So this project will be funded with a combination of both funds from the County of Ventura and a grant from the Federal Aviation Administration, which is called an Airport Improvement Grant, or an AIP grant, and that comes from the Los Angeles Airports District Office. So the project is being designed and bid as a single bid package, but will consist of a base bid and up to 2 bid alternates. And then the base bid being the runway 725 reconstruction, and then bid alternate 1 will be the taxiway connectors Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and Echo. And then bid alternate 2 will be the parallel taxiway Foxtrot reconstruction. So next slide. So in here, we just wanted to highlight some of and these are proposed airfield changes that will still need to be approved by the FAA formally. And this is in regards to the taxiway reconfiguration. And as a reminder, these changes would only take place if alternate 1 is funded by with the FAA project. So if we only do the base bid, these proposed taxiway changes will not take place at this time. But some of the changes are modification to what's going to be taxiway Alpha 4, and I'll go over this new naming convention, but that's really the high-speed taxiway connector. It's changing its width a little bit, and then realignment of taxiway Charlie, which is going to be taxiway Alpha 3.
Excuse me, if we're going to describe certain areas and you have a pointer, please use the pointer. I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you can see my pointer going because I'm not.
Now I can. Yes, I can see it. No.
There we go. Okay.
It's the reason I ask. It is not just for myself, but there are some members of the public that watch this, and I've heard that when a pointer is used, it's extremely helpful.
Okay. Thank you. So, but one other, the last item, if the base bid and alternate one are achieved, then the taxiway connector names are going to change from Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and Echo alpha characters to what's called an alphanumeric character. So the parallel taxiway will become taxiway alpha, and then the connectors will be Alpha 1, Alpha 2, all the way down to Alpha 5. So that's the new naming convention for FAA standards. So since we're using FAA money, we're required to bring it up to standards on the naming convention. So next slide. So this slide shows the, from the tenant workshop number 1, the survey results. And we showed you this at the last Airport Authority meeting, but to go over these again, we asked really 2 questions from the tenant workshop. One was, do you prefer expedited construction duration? And that's to, in other words, close the project altogether, do the construction, and then open it back up again. Or do you prefer limited runway availability? And that was alternate 2. And that was to close half of the runway, have about 2,100 feet to 2,500 feet available for takeoffs and landings. And, but then there still would be some total closure, but it did give some limited runway availability. So you can see the results there from that tenant workshop number 1. So, but what this did, though, from the 5 alternatives that we discussed in that tenant workshop, we were able to narrow it down to these 2 alternatives. Next slide, please. So with that, Jeanette Lorera is going to discuss the remaining 2 alternatives that we're moving forward into design, which is alternate 1, and then she'll describe alternate 2. So Jeanette?
Thank you, Chuck. Yeah, as you mentioned, we analyzed several phasing alternatives, and those were presented at the first workshop. But then for this second workshop, we narrowed it to 2 alternatives. And the first alternative is the full runway closure with no arrivals or departures. If we go to the next slide. So basically, for this alternative, the runway 725 and all the taxiways will be closed. And I'll be referencing to the taxiways by their current name. So in this phasing alternative, there will be no airfield facilities available, so all the navigates will be closed. Will be turned off, the PAPIs, the MALSAF, lighting, glide slope, everything will be turned off. So we go to the next slide. So we did an analysis to each of the alternatives, and we considered the safety, the schedule, the budget, and the product quality. And this table below, well, to the side of us, summarizes the evaluation, analysis, and scoring for the full closure alternative. So the scoring is provided on a scale from 0 to 10, and a score of 10 indicates an ideal scenario, and a score of 0 indicates an unacceptable scenario and eliminates the alternative for consideration. So as you can see in this scenario, there will be increased operations at nearby airports, and aircraft operations on the runway 725 will be prohibitive during the runway construction operations. The construction duration will be approximately 3 to 4 months, plus 2 weeks of additional night closures for grooving and final markings. And this alternative provides the most cost-effective for the construction operations. And since there's going to be a continuous concurrent operations, there will be no transfers asphalt pavement joint, as when they're paving, they'll be able to go from one end of the runway all the way to the other end. So they will be able to do one continuous pull. So there will be no transfer joints in between. So it's going to be smoother for the ride. If we go to the next slide, please. So then the second alternative, it's a 2-phase construction with limited runway availability. We go to the next slide. Thank you. So in this alternative, basically, we're going to be splitting the airfield into two. It will be a two-phase construction. So in this slide, you can see that, so basically, we'll have a runway, a temporary runway that it's approximately 2,500. And then construction will be happening on the west side of the airport. Basically, Taxiway Delta, Echo, the half of Taxiway Foxtrot, and the runway. In this configuration, there will be no touch and goes allowed, and most turboprops should be able to operate in this length of a runway. If we go to the next slide. So basically here, we'll switch the runway to the west side, and we'll have about a 2,100 foot runway, and then construction will be happening on the east side. So basically, Taxiway Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie will be reconstructed, and the east half of Taxiway Foxtrot and the runway. If we go to the next slide, too. So we did the same analysis as alternative one, and the impacts to safety in this configuration include that a shortened runway will be available for the small aircraft. Therefore, there will be aircraft of operations over construction, and there will be no navigates or V-sites or runway lights. So all the aircraft will have to operate under BFR conditions. If we go to the next slide, too. And then as far as the schedule, alternative 2 will take approximately 5 to 5.5 months for construction, and then it will include up to 1 to 2 week full runway closure. This will be to do any work at where the two phases will meet. And then we'll still have the 2 weeks of the night closures to do the runway grooving and the pavement markings. So looking at the budget criteria, the two-phase construction reduces the construction efficiency, and duration results in increased costs of approximately $1.2 million. And then this is money that could be going toward the rest of the construction, like the taxiway connectors. This alternative will add to runway configuration. Therefore, the runway will have to be striped 3 times. So first, the existing markings will have to be removed, and then when the first temporary marking is in place, runway is in place, we'll have to do temporary markings, and then followed by the second temporary runway, and then paint from the new temporary markings will have to be removed to do the final paint for the whole new runway. So when we're removing pavement markings, they're usually removed by water blasting, so this could damage the pavement. And then the quality for this alternative will be impacted by having construction operations divided over the 2 phases, which decreases the efficiency, and also will have at least 1 pavement joint. If we go to the next slide. So in this slide, you can see the score side to side, and construction is expected to occur for this project, as Chuck mentioned, like summer or fall of 2021, but it's subject to FAA funding. And also the award of the base bid alternate 1 and alternate 2 is subject to FAA funding. So the ideal scenario will be to at least build the runway and the taxiway connectors. That way we don't have to close the runway at a later day when constructing the connectors. And then, as I mentioned before, if we were to do the phasing alternative 2, where we have the 2 phases, construction cost increased by approximately $1.2 million. That's about 30% of the cost to construct the taxiway connectors. And also, alternative 2 will require a safety risk management process because the shorter runway and aircraft operations over the construction, they will have to be approved by FAA. So this might impact the timing of the construction and the funding. And this is a process that could take months. So if we go to the next slide. So when we had the workshop number 2, we were giving the public, the tenants, the opportunity to participate. So we asked them 3 questions. The first question was, during construction, will you temporarily relocate to Camarillo Airport if there was an opportunity? And about 56% of the people said yes, they would move. And 36% said that they wouldn't move, and 8% said it didn't apply to them. And there were about 25 people that participated in the survey. With the second question was, how often do you fly? 36% said that once or more per month. 60% once or more per week. No person said that they would fly once or more per quarter, and 4% said that it didn't apply to them. So based on the updated information that we presented at the workshop, we asked if they would prefer alternative 1, the full runway closure, or alternative 2, the partial runway closure, and 64% of the people said full runway closure. We go to the next slide, please. So we also had a Q&A session, and we received 32 questions and comments. 3 of them were received via the raise hand feature, and 29 via the chat feature. And then the type of questions and comments that we received were 17 were technical related, 12 were tenant relief related, and 3 were related to funding. So now I'll turn it back to Chuck.
May I ask a question before we leave with you? And I want to thank you very much for using the pointer. Mm-hmm. And board members, if you have a question, I feel more comfortable not waiting. Just ask to be recognized and we'll ask the question. Sometimes we lose things. If we can go to the previous slide, we have one, it says does not apply. I'm very curious, how does the pilots, and it does not apply unless, and this is why I ask, does this include helicopters? If a person's a helicopter pilot, would he be in that group? Does not apply? It's a two-part question.
Oh, thank you for your question. This basically, it was to our understanding that there were some people from the general public, so maybe they're not pilots. I think there were some people from a local neighborhood.
Okay. Yeah. And then the second part about helicopters, will helicopters be operating during this time or not?
Yeah, we anticipate that helicopters will be able to operate.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for answering the questions.
Mm-hmm.
Any board members have any questions before we move to the next gentleman? Hearing none, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Jeanette. If we can go to the next slide, please. So kind of looking at the future workshops and also contact information, as Kip mentioned, we're going to hold another workshop in the late January, early February timeframe. And as well, during the complete project, we've had a project email that people can ask email questions to, and that's that email address shown there. And then there's also a helpline as well. So it keeps the public, the outreach available during the project in its entirety. But again, we'll have the next tenant workshop in the late January, early timeframe. Next slide, please. So this brings us, that is the final slide. So if Jeanette or I could answer any questions, we'd be glad to take those.
So thank you very much. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments on this item on the agenda?
There are no public comments on this item.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any questions?
Yes, I have a question. So your alternate is to split and do it in 2 sections, and then your downtime is about 3 weeks or so of the whole thing being shut down versus shutting it down completely. Is that correct?
No.
Yeah, so really, to summarize, the alternates 1 and 2. Alternate 1 is to do the project all at once.
Mm-hmm.
You get in there. The project takes about 3 months to do that. Mm-hmm. Alternate 2 is, you don't have the full length of the runway available, so only typically single-engine aircraft can take off and land, only the smaller airplanes. So you only have 2,100 feet available and or 2,500 feet available. But there also will be a complete closure during that time frame to switch over from one phase to the other. But in addition to that, like Jeanette mentioned as well, that project costs more money. So the FAA only has so much money to spend on the project. So if we do that route, if that route were accomplished, it would take money away from doing some of the connector taxiways and or the parallel taxiway Foxtrot.
Thank you. I appreciate you reiterating that. I think that's extremely important not to pass over, is the fact that the cost is more. And I believe also the time it takes to do it would be longer too. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. Alternate 2 takes 5 to 5.5 months as well to accomplish that one. So the project duration is going to be much longer.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that, especially because we'll be voting on this at some time. When will we be making this decision?
And Supervisor Long, if I may just jump in real quick, the biggest takeaway from the 2 workshops that I think is really the highlight, and this is why we do these workshops. We do these workshops to get the public feedback and the tenant and the feedback that we get from our tenants. The biggest takeaway for these boards to listen to tonight is the decision by the folks that participated in the workshops that they chose alternate 1. So yes, alternate 1 truly is a savings, and that's wonderful. And alternate 1 is a shorter time frame, and that's also wonderful. But we would have gone to bat with the FAA to try to get the funding had the public chose alternate 2, but it was actually the tenants that weighed in and chose alternate 1. So we have chosen alternate 1 to move forward.
Thank you, and I appreciate that because I think it makes it helpful for the Oxnard Commission when they're voting on it as well to know that their community of pilots are behind the alternate 1.
I think that it's really important to note the safety aspects of it. The safety is about twice as high favorable for 1 than 2. Alternate 2 really does present some fairly significant safety hazards, and I think that probably took a good part of why the pilots voted for 1 over 2, in my view.
Definitely part of it, yes.
Any other comments from board members?
Well, before we go to the third not council, but the group meeting, town meeting, Kip, are you going to have a sort of an answer or a plan for people who are looking for a place to keep their airplane during the construction in Camarillo?
We are. So this is a question, and thank you for bringing that up. But this is a question that has surfaced, rightfully so, in both of the workshops. I mean, people that are affected from any kind of when you're affected for anything that you're having done that affects your normal life, you want to know how you can adjust and that kind of thing. So, understandably so, but. The questions have surfaced, will the Department of Airports be able to accommodate their aircraft at our other airport? And then also the question has surfaced at both workshops, would there be any waiving of fees to the tenants that are affected during the course of the construction? Quite simply, we didn't have a way to answer those questions until we narrowed down from the 5 alternatives to an alternative, because each of the 5 alternatives would have had somewhat of a different result to those questions. So now that we've gotten down to alternative 1, since this workshop and even before, we were already doing homework behind the scenes to try to analyze whether or not we would be able to make a proposal of waiving rents to those tenants affected during the 3 to 4 months of construction. We have done a very thorough vetting of that internally We've run the numbers. We've crunched the projections for that, and we feel that the Department of Airports can absorb the budget offset for that 3 to 4 months from tenant fees, just those tenants affected, obviously. So we are going to propose, the Department of Airports is going to propose to the Board of Supervisors, and obviously it'll be, subject to Board of Supervisor approval, the possibility of looking at trying to waive the rent fees for those affected tenants at the Oxnard Airport for the 3 to 4 months during the actual construction period next summer. Now, as far as whether or not the Camarillo Airport, which is the other, obviously, airport that the county owns and operates, would be able to accommodate all of the aircraft, that's just unknown at this time. I mean, we're talking 6, 7, 8 months out. So what our availability is today, for example, may or may not be the same availability come next June. So we feel that if we're able to offer waiving of the rent fees to those affected tenants, which, by the way, is a very generous offer. There's airports all over the country that are single airport runways even that do these projects all the time, and it's not a normal thing to necessarily waive the rent. A runway reconstruction is just understood to be something that has to be done, no different than if your road in front of your house has to be paved, then it's an inconvenience while the road's getting paved. They don't come pay your rent while they're paving the road. But the bottom line is we do think it's something that we can do, and we're going to propose that. But there would be no way to determine 100% whether we'd be able to accommodate all of the aircraft at Camarillo. So I can tell you there'd be no hangars at Camarillo. We've got already a hangar wait list of over 100, and there's no way that we're going to have resolved completing that list and have hangars available by June. And tie-down spaces will be literally first come, first serve. And then, obviously, if we are able to waive the rents, then they would have that money. They could go, if they had to, on a temporary basis, park their aircraft at another airport and offset their expense with that money being waived.
And can I ask a question as a devil's advocate? Then what does the hangar owners in Camarillo think? Is this an inconvenience to them to have more planes and so forth there? I just want to make sure we ask that question.
So the thing is, we can only accommodate with storage of aircraft. Now, the airport infrastructure itself can accommodate, operationally wise, a different kind of number than what I'm talking about right now. But when it comes to storage of aircraft, that means either having the aircraft in a hangar or having the aircraft tied down. We only have so many of those on the airport now, and that number doesn't affect our tenant base at Camarillo, whether it's full or whether it's 3/4 full or partially full. So our airport has already established itself with being able to accommodate that number. So either way, it wouldn't affect the tenant base at Camarillo.
Okay.
And we have to remember that when Camarillo has to get its runway closed, we need to be able to go to Oxnard and have them help us. So it's a two-way street here.
And the same will apply at Oxnard when that happens. There's only so many tie-down spots at Oxnard, only so many hangars. So what you can't do is park aircraft for an extended period of time, particularly with our Santa Ana winds and the kind of weather patterns that we might have, and just not have them secured. Now, you can do that for a day or two for an air show or something like that, but for an extended period of time like this, it has to be a more permanent type tie-down or a more permanent type hangar facility. So we have what we have, and obviously we'll accommodate what we can, but even those that would come over to Camarillo, if there is space, would be expected to pay the fees at Camarillo if we're waiving their rents, particularly if we're waiving their rents at Oxnard.
And I think that's appropriate to make sure we communicate with both of them because of these projects. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Chairman Perrello?
Yes, go ahead, Matt.
Less questions and just a quick comment. It's pretty clear that option one has emerged as the best alternative, And although it's maybe on the short term not fortunate for the operations at Oxnard Airport, in the long term, with the quality at 10 versus the alternative, which I believe is at 7, it really is the desired alternative. And I was thinking if we still had United Express or American Eagle or any of the commuter aircraft that were coming into Oxnard, and I'll say this as kind of a parting joke, this is my last authority meeting, I'd say this to my colleagues from Camarillo, maybe that would open up the fact that commercial aircraft could go to fly and land in the Camarillo airport. But without that commercial airline flying into Oxnard, it makes it even more preferable that alternative 1 is brought forward. But I appreciate the presentations, and it is pretty clear now what is the desired alternative of the choices. Thank you.
Any other questions, board members? Okay, I'd like to ask a couple of questions. On the tie-down situation, not being a flyer, and the mention of first come, first serve, are tie-downs actually like numbered and somebody rents the tie-down, or is it the first guy that gets there gets it? How does that work?
No, they enter into an agreement with the Department of Airports at either airport when they secure or when they have a desire to use a tie-down, and there's an associated fee with that.
Okay, so there's an actual spot that they get. Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
I just like to add this to the thing. I got feedback from people that attended the meetings, both meetings. It's positive. I was able to listen in on the second one. I was impressed with how the meeting was conducted. I was impressed with the questions. There has been a group. They did attend and they did ask questions with respect to water on-site running off-site. There is an issue with the Channel Islands Harbor and water getting into the drains, the main drains that end up going to the Channel Islands Harbor, and what would potentially come off the site during construction. And I brought that to the airport manager's attention. I believe that group is going to pursue their concerns quite a bit. I would like to thank Mr. Thomas for pointing out that the differences in the safety and the people that voted in that Oxnard, and I can't say that they're all Oxnard residents, but I do believe that the residents and the pilots in that area understand the value of the safety, but they also understand the value of a buck. And they understand what it means to save some money and how far you can stretch a dollar bill. Because I can tell you, when one of the inconveniences of a passenger on a brand new roadway is when you find the seam where the guy stopped paving and then they started again. It's smooth as a baby's, and then all of a sudden bump up and you hit the seam. And if that would have been the only objection, I could make a joke that it maybe wake up a pilot who was asleep, which I know that that doesn't happen. But the value of the safety, the cost, and the time, I think this is the smartest thing going. I think Ms. Long kind of alluded to that, and the rest of the board. And those are my comments. And so this is my understanding of General Manager, this is basically a receive and file.
Mr. Perello?
Yes, correct.
I'll motion to receive and file.
Oh, Mr. Perello, I want to interject really quick. Staff just told me they received a public comment on this item.
Okay, well, thank you.
And I think is it going to be a call?
I thought I had asked earlier, but okay.
Okay, this individual requested a phone call, so they're going to try to patch them in and allow them their 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much, Sean, for catching that. But thank you, staff.
So they're just dialing now. Just give it a few seconds, please.
Okay.
Ms. Filkin?
Yes, I'm on.
Hi, it's Anna with Airports. I will start your 3-minute clock now.
Okay. Yes, I'm on. Okay, make sure I don't have any feedback. I have actually 2 questions, 1 comment and 1 question. Typically, in any type of construction contract that comes through, there's always the case of overruns and delays because of requirements. So my first question is, what is the contingency for the contractor not needing that 3 to 4 months in the complete closure? And my second comment leading to question is, given that survey that we took at the tenant workshop, it was fairly leading to the fact that we all would agree to the fact that the runway closure. But my question that I posed was, did anybody do a more full, in-depth economic impact as far as the closure of the airport? End of comment.
Thank you very much. Do we have any more public comments?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Is there a staff that could address the two questions from the young lady?
You know, I'll take Mr. Chairman, I'll take a quick stab, and then I'll see if our project team wants to add anything more technical to it. As far as the contingency, projects of any size and every size, you know, always run the risk of running into something that's unexpected, and those kind of things are always calculated for when the Department of Airports takes on projects, particularly projects of this size. So, you know, when there's always a budget calculation for an anticipated contingency that we might run into, for example, on the financial side, and then there's always the risk of, you know, obviously if a project hits a delay because of weather, or if a project hits a delay for something that's just, you know, out of our control, you know, there's always that risk with any project. It doesn't matter where the project is. So we don't escape that. I wish we could, but we just simply don't. And I'm not aware of anybody in the world that does. That we always have the capability and the means to address those before we undertake the project. And we're prepared for the worst case scenario at any time we undergo something like this. That was the first question. And the second question, gosh, I'm trying to remember now.
Economic feasibility, a deeper economic feasibility study.
Oh, yeah. Quite simply put, the pavement is failing at the Oxnard Airport. So the greater economic issue here would be is if we do nothing and we get to a point of total pavement failure and we have no airport. So, yeah, there is the cost of having an airport, you know, where it's not able to function in the capacity that we would like it to function in, and it's everyday role for a period of 3 to 4 months. In this case, while we do a major reconstruction project on the runway, the alternative is we do nothing and it continues to degrade and gets to a point where we have no runway at all and we have no airport. So, you know, that's not a tough one there either when you look at the alternative to that. And we are at a point where we cannot simply do nothing. So, yeah, that's the best way I know to answer that one.
Mr. Chairman, I think that she's really asking between alternative 1 and alternative 2, what's the difference in the cost to the economic piece for keeping the airport open partway versus closing it full?
Yeah, and I'll even try to take a stab at that one in case I'm misunderstood, so I apologize. But if I did misunderstood and that's what she was aiming at, you heard from the project team earlier that there's a $1.2 to $1.5 million escalation of costs just for the construction portion. So economically, that's another $1.2 to $1.5 million that someone has to come up with. And then there's the longer duration of the project, which is automatic 5 months or longer, I believe, instead of 3 or 4 months. So, you know, we're talking about a project that's extended out for another month or two at the most. That definitely impacts our businesses that operate on the airport. Really, the alternate two, would primarily be a beneficiary only for the small GA aircraft, which are typically the private-owned aircraft just doing their own thing. It wouldn't really accommodate either of the businesses. I talked to both FBOs and owners of both FBOs that operate on the airfield. One FBO runs fixed-wing operation and helicopter operation. They're going to be able to do helicopter operation either way. They said that the portion that would still be open really would not be beneficial to them on the alternate 2. So it really wouldn't help them on that. And then the other FBO is one one that caters to more business type aircraft, business jet aircraft, and actually both FBOs do that. And the portions that would be open in alternate 2 would not accommodate any of that. So actually the economic impact would be far greater for alternate 2 than it would be for alternate 1 in either way.
And Kip, from the project team, I'll add one more item to the economic impact, if I can.
Please go ahead.
One other thing to consider too with alternate 2, because it does cost increased funding, i.e., up to $1.2 million. That potentially would take away money that is set for the taxiway connectors and taxiway Foxtrot. So if the case is we can only do the runway project and we're doing it alternate 2, we would have to come back at a later date, another year later, and do the taxiway connectors and then close the runway down again. Because if you're doing the taxiway connectors, the runway has to be closed again. So it could really draw it out to another year.
Thank you for that additional information. I would just like to throw 2 bits in there. Being a non-pilot, I appreciate the consultant having pointed out, and Mr. Thomas having pointed out the extra risk by the proximity to the buildings on the east end of the airport runway if there was going to be a separate type thing here. So I don't know how you'd put a price on that, but we sure as hell would put a price on it if something went wrong. Is there any other comments or questions on the matter? Ms. Long had made a recommendation, made a motion to accept the, we're waiting for a second. Okay, I'll second it.
Second. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I was on mute, Chairman.
Okay. You want to? I'll let the mayor second it, if you'd like. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Long,
Yes.
Mayor Flynn,
Aye.
Councilmember Perello,
Yes.
Walter Calhoun.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Going on to, and Sean will stay with us. I'll keep it going here.
That's fine.
Okay, going on with the director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Try to be short tonight, but we do have 2 or 3 things to update you on. The hangar lease will be coming back before you, is scheduled to come back before you in the March meeting. You may recall we brought this item to you actually last March, and we thought at the time we were bringing you the final draft. Your authority asked us to look at 6 more items. We went back and actually did that and made revisions to 5 of those 6 items, and we think will be in favor of the requests that were made. And we're ready to present that to you back in April. But and then obviously in middle of March we had the unfortunate COVID-19 pandemic hit us, and it threw all of this into a tailspin, if you will. So we have now been waiting on this item to make sure we were at a point in time where public participation could again be present and participate. We do feel like we are at a point now with technology and enough experience under our belt doing these public meetings virtually that even if hopefully we will be in a better state of position by March anyway for the pandemic for all of our sakes, but even if we're not, we do feel like by the March timeframe that we're very well prepared to handle any kind of public participation and interaction into rediscussing this for hopefully a final time before taking it to the Board of Supervisors in late March. So in between now and then, I am doing a few clarifying edits to the draft just to make it easier to follow and read and make sure that we've dotted the I's and crossing the T's on some certain things. So I have already reached out to the Cahota group and asked them if they would be willing to meet with me again prior to us bringing this to you in March. They've agreed that they would. So as soon as I finish the clarifying edits, I will be sending that draft back out to all of you, including the Cahota group and all of the tenant association all of the tenants at both airports. And we'll be setting that meeting up with the Cohoda group. Probably envision that sometime in probably late January, early February timeframe. Again, in anticipation of seeing you with that in March. And then moving right along on the Northeast Hangar Development Project in the Camarillo Airport, which is a airport project. This is not the Cloud 9 project that is often discussed or has been often discussed over the last year. This is actually our hangar project that we've been working on as well. We have made good progress on that. Chairman Camarillo, you had asked me to follow up in our last meeting on a certain item to see if it was resolved. But the contractors, that item was resolved. I won't get too much detail, but the good news is everything that we had that needed to be resolved with the contractor has been resolved, and we're moving forward. We were anticipating a completion date of December 18th until today, and it's really not in anyone's ability to control. But the seal coat that is being put down on the concrete floors has an issue with the application. So the manufacturer is going to have to make an entire new batch of seal coat for us. So because of a material delay, we're now probably looking at around middle of January before we can actually call it 100% complete. So we're excited about that. We had hoped to have the thing turned over completely by the end of this year, but even the middle of January would be nice, and we anticipate holding, once the pandemic allows us to have gatherings again, we anticipate trying to schedule and hold a grand opening for that sometime in the early part of next year, and of course we'll be reaching out to all of you and inviting you to that. And then a quick update on our master plan and system plan. You may recall we received a $750,000 FAA grant just a couple of months ago, 3 or 4 months ago now, to initiate a 12 to 18 month master and system plan grant that will allow us to truly determine the best vision for our 2 airports going forward for the next 10 to 12 years. We kicked that project off officially on November the 18th with a consultant, Kaufman, and we're going to be having at least 4 public workshops during the course of the next 12 months or so at different places throughout the county. We'll be meeting in some capacity with all 10 cities in the county. Numerous updates and meetings will be with your boards on updates of those things. And we just look forward to that and having your participation and the county's participation as we unfold that project. And then I wanted to touch base real quick with some of the slides you're seeing pop up on the screen now. We have been doing a lot of work at the Oxnard Airport over the last year. I want to thank Byron, our maintenance supervisor, who's been overseeing all this work. He has done a fabulous job in bringing his team together, getting a lot of things done, and then we've hired some things done that were, that we needed help on. The picture you're seeing here is where we had the entire pavement in front of the terminal, the driveway, the parking lot, all of that resealed and cracks filled and resealed and restriped, and it just made a world of difference. And then if we can go to the next slide, this is the baggage claim area in the back of the terminal. Knowing that we've got the upcoming runway project scheduled for next summer, we wanted to try to get some purpose out of this room until we get another airline back in there. So we put a meeting table in there and chairs and cleaned this room up, painted, and fixed all of the baggage claim doors where they open and close, where we can get air in and out of this room. And we're going to turn this into sort of a temporary project room during the project. And then the picture you see here, or the slide you see here, are pictures of the rest of the inside of the terminal where we've torn out all of the old airline counters that were really, quite frankly, an eyesore. We've repainted all of the walls, put in new new LED lights throughout the terminal, and just really lit the place up and brightened everything up. So we've had a lot of tenant feedback that's been very positive on this, and a lot of other feedback outside of tenants that's been positive on this, and we've got more work to do. That's just some of the work that we've done over the last 12 months at the Oxnard Airport that we wanted to share with you. And I think, Mr. Chairman, that wraps up the director's report for this month.
Thank you very much. Moving on.
Excuse me, Bert, can I ask the director a question?
Yes.
While it wasn't on the agenda, the question from Mr. Sullivan is similar to rumors that I've been asked on. If we can't answer it tonight, I'd like to make sure that it gets put on the agenda for our next meeting. And that's the status of the hangar complex in between EAA and Air 7 and rumors of Amazon that have been swirling around. There are a lot of people connecting dots that are evident but not necessarily logical. So we need to really try to get the information correctly out to stamp it down.
Yeah, absolutely. I can address that now. As we did in our last meeting and a couple of meetings before that, we've addressed this on a number of times now from the same type public comments. But no, we do not have anything that we're aware of with Amazon other than the lease that you already approved to park some trucks out on a vacant lot that we had in the business park.
And I have, with full disclosure, one of my hangar is in that section, so I had a personal interest, but and I knew the answer, but that doesn't keep people from connecting weird dots.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times we've already answered this question on these type of comments and this type of rumor, but we'll continue to do so.
Thank you for addressing it, Mr. Turner, and thank you for asking, Mr. Thomas. Are there any questions underneath the director's report? Moving to item number 8, we have monthly activity reports, monthly noise complaints, consultants report, airport tenant project status, financial statement period ending, financial statement fourth quarter, and meeting calendar. Any comments or concerns on those items?
Move to receive and file.
Okay,
A second.
Okay,
If we need
I have a question on the monthly noise complaints. We've got the reports from August, September, October. Appreciate the information. Oxnard has 11 complaints and Camarillo only has 2. I recently find out, and from the indication of most of the Oxnard complaints, they are something called T&G, which I had no idea what that meant, but it stands for touch and go. I was informed that apparently Oxnard does not charge for touch and go practice, but other airports do. If that is the case, is that why potentially we have more noise complaints? More people are coming to touch and go in Oxnard than other places because it's free versus having to pay for it. And if that is the case, we ought to look at if it's a potential to keep it on an equitable level with other people. I don't see why we let something get out of, this is the business, and you got to treat it like a business. And those are my concerns and questions on the monthly noise complaints. If it needs to come to a future agenda item, I would appreciate that coming to a future agenda. It can't be addressed now. But we have a motion and a second.
Wait a second. I can't let that one go by. People do not charge for touch and goes anywhere. Even at LAX, you have a parking fee. You don't actually have a landing fee. So you can do a touch and go at any public airport in the country, and you do not get charged. If you're over a certain weight, yes, you might get charged as a coming in and do a touch and go. If you're over whatever weight it is, Kip, but I don't know what that is. But
12,500 pounds.
Yeah. So even if you came in and did a low approach, missed approach at 12,000 or 50,000 pounds, you would not get charged.
Okay, I appreciate that because I was given information, and again, information is important, and I will address that in the next item, number 9. We have a motion and a second. Are there any further questions? And Mr. Thomas, again, thank you for the input. No more comments? Roll call, please, to accept, to receive and file.
Supervisor Long. Supervisor Long.
Yes.
Mayor Flynn.
Aye.
Councilmember Perallo.
Yes.
Walter Calhoun.
Walter, you're muted. You're still muted. Nod your head yes. I can read your lips, but
I hope not. Okay, I think I'm good now. How about, can you hear me now?
yes,
My answer was yes.
Thank you.
thank you.
I'm sorry about that.
That
Nope.
motion passes unanimously for Oxnard Airport Authority. Chair Molche, would you like a roll call vote for Camarillo Airport Authority?
Sure, let's do a roll call vote. All right. I turned myself off. Do I have a motion and a second?
All motion, this is Long. Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Craven.
Supervisor Long,
Yes.
Mayor Craven,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Molche,
Yes.
Bill Thomas.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Okay, moving on to section 9, correspondence. We have several letters. Does anyone have a comment on any of the letters? I have a comment on one. And any other individuals have a comment on the letters? Hearing none, I'll take a shot at my comment. This is letter 9B1, Oxnard Union School District, Mr. Weinstein. Second paragraph. The reason I bring this to the board's attention and it bothers me is because my city gets, you could say tag, tattoo, accused, whatever phrase you want to use, of a lot of things. And people in positions of authority and power, they got to understand something. There's a former president of our country who said something. His name was John Adams. Facts are stubborn things. And whatever you may be or wishes, our inclinations or the dictates of our passions, they cannot alter the fact of the state of evidence and the state of facts. The second paragraph of this letter, it indicates and I'm going to read the part that I got. In contrast to your statement that the Department of Airports, quote, have retreated from its interest without explanation, end quote, the Department of Airports has indicated the following information on several occasions, most recently via email from Mr. Turner to Joel Kishnerstein on May 27, 2020. The reason I am bringing this up, because I am very grateful to be on a board where we have somebody with the, you know what, that is not afraid to say what's what. Facts and evidence do matter, and I appreciate this type of a letter. Those are my comments on this matter. Any other comments on any other items?
Mr. Perello, Chairman Perello.
Sure.
Is this for the authority members' comments? Because I wasn't exactly following that.
We haven't gotten to the authority.
Okay, good, because that was letters. Okay, that's what I thought.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Do we have a motion to receive and file the correspondence if I have no other comments on letters?
Motion to receive and file.
I'll second.
Long.
Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Supervisor Long,
Yes.
Mayor Flynn,
Aye.
Councilmember Perallo,
Yes.
Walter Calhoun.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
On Camarillo, motion to receive and file.
I'll second.
All right, Craven made the
Long.
motion, Long seconded.
Supervisor Long,
Craven made the motion. Yes.
Mayor Craven,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Molche,
Yes.
Bill Thomas,
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Moving to item 10, miscellaneous. I have nothing under miscellaneous. General Manager, do we have anything for miscellaneous?
No, Mr. Chairman, this we've presented.
Okay, the next is authority comments. It's going to be two parts here. The Oxnard Airport Authority. Mr. Calhoun, do you have any comments?
No, sir.
Ms. Long, do you have any comments?
Yes, I would just like to say thank you to the service and dedication that Tim Flynn, Mayor Tim Flynn had, and also Supervisor Zaragoza being on our boards. It's been really helpful for having them here, and I wish them all the luck. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to add my comment. I second your comments wholeheartedly. Mayor Flynn, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. And to my fellow and distinguished colleagues, let me just turn on this camera. I'm not exactly dressed for a meeting. When I say not exactly dressed for a meeting, I'm dressed, just not dressed properly. I just like to say to all of you that one of the most gratifying, let me just do that there. Okay, great. There you are. There I go. One of the most gratifying things that I've had in public service is been serving on this airport authority. And as many of you know, I've been a passionate advocate for the Oxnard Airport and for just, flying and the flying aviation. And aviation is so exciting. Sometimes some of the things decisions we have to make on this authority are not always the most exciting when they involve public works and things like that. But aviation overall is really, really exciting. And I hope that we can maintain that level of excitement, especially hopefully in the future, bringing a commercial airline back to the Oxnard Airport. And I have to admit to my colleagues that I've always had an issue with just one airport out of the two county airports being open for commercial service. And one of the things in the most recent campaign for supervisor I spoke about was economic development and the link between commercial airline service and economic development. And I just think that we have to be more broader, more open-minded. Everybody loves flying. Everybody thinks that, Ventura County, double the size of Santa Barbara County. Santa Barbara County has an airport that serves over 1 million passengers a year. And I just really think that it's high time that this authority and others have a broader discussion about the benefits of not only restoring commercial aircraft service with the limitations, obviously, that are given in the market, but how that will benefit the residents of Ventura County. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. And the second thing I wanted to say is every member of this authority needs to understand that Teal Club Road project is basically, from my perspective, with the pressure of building housing, which I'm a big advocate of building housing, but I'm not an advocate of building housing if it's to the detriment of either Camarillo or Oxnard Airport. And I believe that the proposed development, I can say this now because I won't be voting on it, I believe that the 960 home proposal at Teal Club Road and the school, elementary school, for 1,600 students is going to have a very adverse impact on the Oxnard Airport. And this commission, it's easy for me to say this as I'm leave you guys with the heavy lifting and tough work, but something really needs to be done. I'm not against development there at Teal Club. If they did commercial development and development that wouldn't potentially have children, 1,600 children right next to the airport, I could stomach that. But I can't. But the fact of the matter is this is dangerous. I think it's reckless behavior, and I'm going to say that very directly to my distinguished colleagues. It is reckless behavior to locate 1,600 elementary school students right next door to an airport. And that's the final thing I wanted to say. I'll do anything I can as after next week as a former commissioner to support the cause of the two airports and to get people excited about aviation, because that's, after all, why we're here. And I want to thank each and every one of you because you've been really, really great people to work with. I have a lot of respect for every one of you. And Mr. Turner, you got a very difficult job, but I will do everything I can to back you up and support the airport. So thank you very much. Thank you, Chair Perrell.
Thank you. Mr. Mulcahy, do you want to take the camera?
Yes, do we have any comments on the Camarillo side?
I have just a real short reminder that we're still planning for the August Wings Over Camarillo Air Show.
Oh, God, Bill, really?
Because I really think that by August, there's a shot that they may be allowing larger groups. And if I don't start planning now, we know that we couldn't do it. So I'm just passing that on. We haven't crossed it off yet.
Is that meant as a pun? You're hoping to get the shots, and so you're taking a shot at it?
That's exactly right.
I just wanted to wish everybody a happy holiday, whatever it is you're celebrating.
Second that. I agree. Thank you.
And I do want to extend thanks to Mayor Flynn and Supervisor Zaragoza and their public service, not only to these respective authorities, but also just the general public. And then I also want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, and a Happy Holidays. Any other comments?
And thank you to Supervisor Long. Thank you for the compliments. Thank you.
Yes, happy holidays. We'll see you next year.
Yep. Wear your mask. Stay safe. Stay safe so we can be around to celebrate the next Christmas.
All right.
Any last comments from staff?
Just same thing from staff to all of you. Thank you for your support, and thank you for your leadership, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, all of the above, and wish you all a safe and happy time with your families in the next few weeks.
Thank you.
With that, this meeting is adjourned.
You too, Kip.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
I'll adjourn the Camarillo Air Authority.